Ambassador Rin had survived 3 interstellar wars, negotiated peace treaties with species that communicated through chemical warfare, and once talked down a Vrexian berserker using nothing but interpretive dance. Nothing in her 73 years of diplomatic service had prepared her for the Tava. The Tava were humanity's newest contact, a species of bipedal felines whose fur ranged from deep obsidian to snowy white, with eyes that reflected light like tiny moons. They stood roughly 4 feet tall, possessed retractable claws that could slice through titanium, and had recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Their homeworld application to join the Galactic Council had been fast-tracked due to their impressive technological achievements and their society's emphasis on honor and family bonds. What the initial contact reports had failed to mention was that adult Tava were virtually indestructible, and their young, affectionately called cubs, were chaos incarnate. Rin had been assigned as their transition liaison, living aboard the Tava diplomatic vessel Whisker's Pride for 3 months to help them understand council protocols. She'd grown fond of Captain Tava and his crew, especially the captain's 3 cubs, Miska, Ren, and Little Paws. The morning of the incident, Rin had stayed up late reviewing treaty documents. She'd fallen asleep at her desk, her gray hair falling across datapads displaying article after article of bureaucratic minutiae. When she woke to the smell of smoke, her first thought was that they were under attack. Her second thought, upon seeing the flames dancing in her quarters kitchenette, was considerably less diplomatic. Cubs. 3 small Tava faces peeked around the doorframe, their whiskers drooping with shame. Miska, the eldest at what equated to 8 human years, stepped forward, holding a spatula that dripped with something that might have once been eggs. "We wanted to make you breakfast, Ambassador Rin," Miska squeaked. "Father says humans need morning nutrients to function properly." The fire alarm chose that moment to shriek its mechanical warning. Through her quarters viewport, Rin watched as emergency lights bathed the corridor in red. The ship's automated systems kicked in, deploying fire suppression foam that covered everything, including the cubs in white, sticky substance. Within minutes, the Tava ship's entire security force had converged on her quarters. Captain Tava burst through the door, his black fur standing on end, claws fully extended, ready to defend against whatever threat had breached their vessel's heart. Behind him came Engineer Sura, Medical Officer Kess, and approximately 15 other crew members, all in various states of combat readiness. They froze at the sight before them. 3 foam-covered cubs stood in a destroyed kitchenette, surrounded by broken eggs, spilled milk, which the Tava had procured, especially for Rin, despite their species' lactose intolerance, burnt toast that had somehow welded itself to the ceiling, and what appeared to be an entire bag of flour that had exploded across every surface. In the center of it all stood Ambassador Rin, her formal diplomatic robes singed at the hem, her hair resembling a bird's nest, holding a fire extinguisher like a weapon. "I can explain," Rin started. "We made breakfast," Little Paws announced proudly, her tail swishing through the foam. Captain Tava's ears flattened against his skull, the Tava equivalent of a human putting their face in their hands. "Ambassador Rin, we are, this is, an absolute disaster?" Rin suggested helpfully. "I was going to say mortified beyond the capacity for speech, but yes, that covers it." What happened next would become the stuff of legend across the Galactic Council. Rather than retreating to file a formal complaint as any other species ambassador would have done, Rin began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew into full-bodied laughter that echoed through the ship's corridors. She laughed until tears streamed down her face, until she had to lean against the wall for support. The Tava crew exchanged confused glances. Laughter during a crisis was not in any of their cultural protocols. "They tried to make me breakfast," Rin gasped between laughs. "They set my quarters on fire trying to make me breakfast." Miska's ears perked up uncertainly. Rin wiped her eyes, smearing foam across her cheek. "Angry? I'm honored. Do you know how many species I've worked with who couldn't care less about human dietary needs? You 3 nearly burned down a spaceship because you wanted to do something kind." Captain Tava's fur began to settle. Ambassador, your quarters are destroyed. My quarters are a mess, Rin corrected. There's a difference. Now, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to clean this up, all of us, together. Then, I'm going to teach these cubs how humans actually make breakfast. Safely. Without fire suppression systems. You would still trust them in a kitchen? Engineer Sura asked, his tail twitching with disbelief. Trust them? I'm going to recruit the entire fire department. I mean, security force to help. If we're going to do this, we're doing it right. And so, the strangest scene in diplomatic history unfolded. Ambassador Rin, 3 foam-covered Tava cubs, and 15 bemused warriors gathered in the ship's main galley. Rin taught them about temperature control, proper utensil usage, and the critically important human concept of not setting things on fire. The resulting breakfast was simple: scrambled eggs, toast, unburnt, and synthesized orange juice. The cubs served it with such pride that Rin felt her heart might burst. The entire security force watched as she took her first bite. It's perfect, she declared. Later, Captain Tava found her on the observation deck, staring at the stars. You are unlike any ambassador we've studied, Rin. Because I didn't file a complaint? Because you saw my cubs' hearts instead of their mistakes. He paused, his tail curling thoughtfully. The council warned us that humans are unpredictable, sometimes dangerous. They did not mention you are also impossibly kind. Rin smiled. Humans are survivors, Captain. We've learned that the best way to survive is to gather mistakes, fires, and all. Then, perhaps, Captain Tava said, the galaxy needs more of this human approach. Rin watched the stars drift past. Maybe so. But next time, let's teach them to use the microwave first. The captain's whiskers twitched in what Rin had learned to recognize as Tava laughter. Agreed, Ambassador. Agreed.